If my house were to ever be summarized in one camera angle cut, this would be it. Mother, babies, father, two Kevins sizing each other up, bucket truck. Hello there, people of the internet. How's everyone doing today? I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for tuning into this video. I got me a handgun that is one for the record books. This is one that I have been wanting for a long time. Growing up, me and my friends always played the original Call of Duties. That's basically ancient history now, but we always played the original Call of Duty. One of the things we loved doing was playing Call of Duty 3, and I tell you what, I have no idea how many times I was killed by this gun right here. In this leather pouch is a magnificent little handgun, one that I've wanted for a very long time. I wanted a 1911, got a 1911. This right here is a little bit harder to find than one of those. This right here is a Walther P-1, very similar to the P38. They're in a lot of ways the same exact gun. There's a few very minor differences, and we'll go ahead and get into that later. You know, growing up, my friend Bubba called this the Pistol of Doom, and it's what he used to end my life in Call of Duty over and over. Alright, the Walther P-1 or P38, they're both the exact same gun except for a few minor differences. They are both single action guns or double action guns, meaning you can cock the hammer back, fire in single action, or you can just pull the trigger and it will fire in double action. The one thing I don't like about these things is they have a heel magazine release on the bottom versus just the push button that we're used to over here in the Western world. 1911 is definitely easier and faster to reload, but I have not shot this thing yet, but I imagine this 9mm is probably a little more joyous to shoot. I picked this up at my local gun store, just so happened they had one stock. They also had a 30 caliber Luger that I was also looking at. If I could scavenge up the money for that, that would be fantastic. Check out that Patreon page. This P-1 did come in this very nice little leather holster. Came with one extra magazine. This right here is a P-1 magazine, but it's also got a P-38 magazine that came with it. I went ahead and locked this open because I'll be aiming the gun right at me. One thing I do want to show you guys is these nice little nighttime sights that this specific P-1 has. I'm very excited. I've wanted one of these for a long time. And this one is in very nice shape. But it is marked P-1, so it is after the P-38 assembly line. Were they doing assembly lines back then? The P-38 came first. We'll get into that later on. Alright, this is my first time not only firing this handgun right here, but also my first time actually firing a P-38/P-1. So I'm really hoping that this thing's going to fire as well as I think it will. It's a 9mm and a very hefty gun, so I'm sure it'll fire half decently, especially with that single action trigger that I'll be using. What a fantastic opportunity for me to both use this P-1 in a YouTube video and practice my handgun proficiency. Let's give it a shot, shall we? I tried reloading it like my 1911. Didn't work out. Alright, I am getting better. Fantastic. This thing right here fires very nicely. Okay, I wish it didn't have that heel magazine release and was an actual, push button, but I don't have that luxury. And this right here is just the way these guns are. But yes, it is a little bit of a hindrance, but it is not a complaint because that is a slice of history right there. I got a few more rounds. I'm gonna launch those downrange. You know, time and time again, I find myself kind of looking over different guns like, man, I would love to have one of those. And then I'm like, oh wait, I've already got one of those. Or I'd love to have that. Oh wait, I've already got that. Like, For a long time, I've just been kind of sitting here wondering what I wanted. And this right here was on that list of things that I wanted. I'm very ecstatic that I now have one. Might not be a wartime model, but that's fine. This right here is in fantastic shape. I'm more than certain that a wartime model would not be in this nice a condition. Or have the night sights on it like this one does. I mean, it might. Maybe. Well, I got quite a few of those shots. I am getting better. I'm not great, but I am getting better. Alright. Interesting little extraction system they have on this one. Nice little locking lugs too. Okay, well. I'm out of 9mm. I wish I had more. Oh boy, do I wish I had more. I'll be making a comparison video between this and my 1911. So if you'd like to watch that, mash that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Alright, well, since I'm out of ammo, we're going to go ahead and head inside, take a closer look at this P-1 and discuss the differences between a P-1 and a P-38. Very, very similar guns, just a few very minor differences. I don't think that steel target over there has been shot enough. I mean, I hit it a couple of times, but I feel like it hasn't been shot enough. Well, it's been shot, but not as many times as I'd like. I gotta fasten that steel target up, but that was still fun. Alright, so I was in the middle of actually editing this video, and I realized that the video is only halfway complete. I went outside, I shot it, but I never really came back inside to show off the P38, so that's exactly what we're going to be doing now. The lighting's not the best, this is just kind of my editing station, and I didn't really have the ability to set up my actual studio, so we're going to kind of do it like this for today and hope that it comes out alright. Alright, now we're going to take a look at the P1 that I actually have here. There's been a couple of times in the video where I call it a P01. It's not a P01, it's a P1. That's entirely my bad there. Alright, now this specific one does have a couple of property marks right there. It does have the aluminum frame on it, so it's definitely a post-war gun versus the steel frame P38s that existed during World War II. There's quite a few little markings on here. Up here we have the Walther logo, P1, KAL 9mm, 2 out of 77 or 2-77. I'm assuming that's February of 1977, but I could be wrong. Serial number is on the slide, along with the frame itself. That star you see next to the 77, that is a proof mark. I'm sorry, that is the Walther Factory's inspection stamp. The little bullet insignia right there, the star with the, or not star, the circle with the little dot in it. That right there is the actual proof mark, I believe. Alright, now we have a little stamp right there that says BW. That stands for, I apologize if I butcher this, Bundeswehr, which is basically a military property stamp. Next to that is the serial number. And other than that, there's not a whole lot of markings on this thing besides the import markings. Ironically, this specific P-1 was imported by Interordnance, which kind of sucks as far as I'm concerned. Alright, there's a ton of history behind these things, and I am more than certain that somebody's going to complain that I'm not sharing enough history, so I'm just going to flat out say this is a very, very brief overview. The P38 was to replace the P-08 Luger, which was Germany's little handgun before this. The P-38 was designated as the P-1 due to Cold War standings and bureaucratic nonsense. They basically just wanted to simplify logistics. And P-1, as the start of a series, I guess was easier to keep track of than P-38. P-38 mostly had wooden grips along with a steel frame. The P-1 has an aluminum frame and cheap plastic grips. Your later model P-1s have this reinforcing steel nut right there, so a lot of people say that's not needed, but just the fact that it's there makes me feel more comfortable putting a lot of ammo through this thing. Your P-1s, the finish on them is kind of like a matte black, but your P-38, the finish on it was more of a blue finish, like this magazine here. This is a P-1 mag, this is a P-38 mag. They are interchangeable because they're basically the same gun. Now there are a couple of very, very slight differences between the two guns. Like for example, the P-1 has a 2-piece barrel, whereas the P-38 only had a 1-piece barrel. The slide on the P-1 is a millimeter increased in width versus the P-38. And of course, you know, the aluminum frame and the hex bolt right there to add durability, but for the most part, especially mechanically, these right here are basically identical guns. Alright, I do hope that the lighting turned out alright in this segment of the video. I'm going to go ahead and get back to editing. Editing absolutely sucks, but I kind of need the whole video to edit, so I'm excited about this thing. I really am. And I'm looking forward to making a whole slew of videos that are going to have this included in it. One of the videos I'm going to make is the 1911 versus this thing, which should be pretty interesting. I'd like to actually get my hands on an actual P38 and then an 08 Luger, just to compare the bunch. I feel like that would really bring my collection together. If you have any suggestions, go ahead and let me know. That being said, I got a lot of work to do tonight if I feel like going to sleep at a decent hour, so I'm going to go ahead and go do that. You guys have a fantastic night.